First, it's essential for every business to have a policy that requires its employees to report when they receive tips of $20 or more in any given month. So if you have an employee who infrequently receives tips but does receive $20 or more in a given month, they are required by law to report that sum to you so that it can be listed on their pay stub. It can be subject to withholdings and deductions. If you do not collect that data from employees already, it is essential that you begin doing that in 2026. Second, employers get this wrong so frequently. You are not permitted to pass along credit card processing fees on tips to the employees. In other words, if a customer or consumer tips $20, but the credit card company charges you a 3% surcharge because of the fact that they are processing your credit card payments, you cannot deduct that 3% from the employee. They must be compensated for the full $20 tip that was provided by the consumer on the bill. You do not have that flexibility to deduct credit card authorization or processing charges. That is deemed to be a cost of doing business that the company or the restaurant must take on themselves. And then the third point that many employers are messing up is if an employee receives a $20 tip, but they're required to share that with bartenders, barbacks, back office staff, or front office staff, you do not get to charge the employee for the full $20 tip that he or she received. Rather, you need to keep very specific and meticulous records as to how those sums were divided among all staff members. At the end of each payroll period, each staff member should have an accurate depiction of the actual cash that they received during the course of the work week or pay period. Additionally, just as one last reminder, you cannot have an employee forced to commingle their tips with any supervisory or management level employees or anyone at the executive level of the restaurant. This can be service staff only that is sharing in tips. And it's essential to make sure that when we're commingling or sharing tip amounts, that we have a specific ledger and we keep track of who is receiving what from the entire tip pool throughout the evening, if that is the process that your firm uses. And remember, it is absolutely essential that we are communicating expectations to our employees. That means you should have a written policy of how tips are handled, how they are divided, and then how they are reported to the employee each pay period.